Sure, I've had a request. I'm only going to take a few. All those that married within the class?
That are married here within the class.
All those that married within the class, stand up. Oh. Not bad. You all made it.
God bless you,
Oh, missed you. Sorry, I missed you too.
I want to move this on because we want time for you to socialize. But I promised we would do a little bit of reflection, and we started some of that last night. For those of you who toured the high school, and for some of us, myself included, it's the first time I've been there since walked out the door. It was really a neat event. The walk to Mancuso Theater, which is where we should have graduated from, turned out to be a really fun event. And what this is all about is an opportunity, and I think Barbara mentioned at the beginning, to refresh friendships that we have in the past, to generate memories, good memories, to walk away from at the end of this. So I have a couple things, and if this slide looks fuzzy, it is, not just eyesight, because I want to take just a few minutes, and we need to do this fairly quickly, to reflect on some of the things in the past. And not just 50 years ago. For some of us, it started in kindergarten. There are people in this room I've known since before kindergarten. And all the things that happened over that time frame. And it certainly probably shaped our life. But there was one thing that Principal Chris Daly, who helped us through the celebration of the graduation from Mancuso's last night, was that he took some time to reflect on the activities that go on within the high school now. And it was certainly interesting for him to share some of those. And it fits very well into what I'd like to go through fairly quickly here. And that is, when I looked at our yearbook, and during dinner and before, we were reflecting on the screen. It's the microphone. We showed you some of the activities that you had an opportunity to participate in high school. And those activities probably shaped your life to some extent, besides the contributions of our teachers, of course. And so I want to give you an opportunity to reflect just a little bit on what some of those are. Now, originally, I was going to have you stand up, but I won't do that because some people don't want to stand up, and we're going to try to move this along really quickly. I don't know how well you can read this, but you can probably remember. I'd like people to raise their hands if they were involved in any of the sports activities back during those years in high school. And I listed them here because, actually, do we have a tennis team? Who asked that? You asked that in your profile, right? Do we have a tennis team?
No, there was no tennis.
Anyway, I guess what I'd like to do, and do this as quickly as I can, rather than for me to reflect on the things that I remember during some of these sporting events, whether you were on these teams or whether you came to support them, I guess I'd be interested in a couple comments on what you remember from the sports activities during the time you were in high school. Somebody want to, and somebody's shy, other than Julie Joslin one.
Shy Jim.
Again, I'm very shy, but George Gallagher and Mickey Schrader and a few other things, John Herridge, in a cross-country meet, somehow we got directions a little wrong. And for somehow we were running down a cross-country course, and I ran through the cemetery, and I was coming around the football field. You're supposed to go around. Well, I thought I saw Stu Katz and Vincello ahead of me. Actually, they were finishing the race, so I decided to come down. As I got coming down the course, I realized some fans, it was a football game, halftime of a football game. They said, this guy's going the wrong way. I'm saying to myself, what idiot's going the wrong way? I got to the 50-yard line. Ricky is screaming, our coach. And I decided, I looked around, and I realized they're all going on the outside. So I'm saying to myself after about 2.5 miles, should I jump the fence? I said, that's not going to happen. I got back in line and finished, And that's what we call perseverance. I coached cross country for the next 35 years and never told my runners. I told them the story, but never told them who the runner was.
I remember Vandetta's paddle.
Capital punishment still could be done back then. Anybody else?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, I should have got. Here comes the football team.
You're damn right. And I'll tell you what. Okay, a long time ago, in 4 years of high school. Now you can ask these guys because they've been here. Bobby, come up from Texas. Nate came in from Detroit. I came from Hilton. You know, and all that stuff. And we were all on the same football team. We were all talking about the same thing. Okay, 4 years of this class now, and I mean this. As a class, we won 2 championships, 2 undefeated seasons, all right, gave us the championships, and we tied 2. All that happened in 4 years, and it was because of these guys. All right? Now, one of the dates I always wanted to talk about was Julie Johnson. We played a very tough football game in pouring down rain. My house happened to be 2 blocks from that stadium. Took Judy over. My mom yelled at me. My dad just about kicked my ass, okay, because I let her walk all the way from Woodard Field to Verona Avenue, 2 blocks. Look how wet she is. Yeah,
Hey,
Mom.
she didn't want to get in the car with you.
I didn't have a car. And she came, I said, Judy, I live close to the stadium. We can get in there, you can get dry. And then we were going to the dance we used to have after school, after football game. My parents yelled at me because I let her get wet, and after I told them where she had been while I was playing football, he said, "You're both nuts." Right, and that's the way the whole class was. Out of that much football, I went through the service. I got out of the service, got on the GI Bill, went to college. I believe it, and coached football at Hilton for 18 years. And Nate, and I want to tell you this, I want to tell you about Tom too. Tom's son, all right, got an Emmy for the soundtrack of
Actually, it was Academy Award.
Academy Award for what?
Reception.
Research. Okay. Nate Walton. Yeah, Nate Walton and a city group of kids, all right, put 3 basketball players on the NBA. And you can go around this whole place, all right, and you can find things that this group has done that is that much above a lot of classes. All right? And I mean that. I mean that. This is the greatest
I knew
class
some
in the world.
shy guy like you were doing. I always kid with that. But there were a couple things that you hit on. As I recall, in our senior year, we'd lost half of the first string from the year before and went undefeated that year, which was amazing.
Bill Graves was the heaviest guy on the team at 165 pounds. I was second at 160, and it was Bill and me in the middle. And we kicked everybody.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to call on George Gallagher because I know you have comments on some of the track activities that occurred during the time we were there, and who better than you?
Well, Tom Vincello, we nominated for the Hall of Fame, and he was inducted into it. And he certainly was a fabulous runner. And we had a fabulous football team. We also had fabulous cross-country teams. The worst we came in 3 years was second in sections. We were second, first, second. And Vincello, you could go to the biggest meets that you want to go to, and he would always be right up near the top. We were in some huge meets in Buffalo. We went against McQuaid was picked, what, 2,000 guys? They edged us out. I mean, we had a really, really good team. But the thing I really wanted to kind of brag about was that I was on the JV basketball team. And I sat at the bench a lot. So I don't, is Mr. Rain still here? Well, from sitting the bench, when I got in, man, I was ready to go. We were playing in Perry. Got in, was not up to half court. Probably a minute and a half left in the game. And the people in the stands said, shoot! I let loose with a set shot. It was like it went out of a howitzer. It went up and above the wiring. When I walked off the court, Coach Rain said, I suppose you would have jumped in the lake if they told you.
You know, I'm sure there's a million stories in this room, and we're going to have to hold them till after. And I'm sure you can find a few. And in fact, I understand Al Jones is going to meet the football players over here in this corner to see if you all can do a three-point stand. And Tony Johnson is going to take all the women to see how many of you can still do a split. This is not going to be pretty. Music certainly was something that was important in my life. I know a lot of people here. I'd be happy to hear some stories of some of the activities that occurred, the concerts that we had. Anybody want to take a shot? I'm not going to embarrass anybody. No. Well, we're going to test y'all when we sing over Batavia later. This is kind of a catch-all. And if somebody doesn't speak up and talk about why they joined the World Affairs Club at this point, but there were so many activities that we could get involved with that certainly impacted us later in life, that we build off of skills that we learned, friendships we developed, that I'm sure that you'll have an opportunity to share. And I think that in order to bring this to a close, I'm going to move on. But I did want to reflect that besides all the things that happened within the walls of Batavia High School and all the walls within the schools of Batavia, there were a lot of outside activities that impacted us as well. And quite frankly, I'm not sure I want to know what Julie Johnson was doing outside of school. So we'll save your stories till after. But, I just wanted to point out that sometimes people didn't have enough time to involve themselves in all the activities that were available at school. But it was because they were doing things outside of school. Some even to the point of having a job, which certainly impacted us in the way we moved on after we left Batavia. Or if we didn't leave Batavia, at least finally got out of high school.